Celtic fans won't want to hear it, but they had a manager in the dugout tonight, and it felt like there's a guy that's time was 20 years ago. Look, he's done everything he can to try and lift the atmosphere, get a bit of a bounce, try and make Celtic a better watch. But that was as bad a watch for Celtic fans as there has been, and I don't know how long. That wasn't a football match. That was an ordeal.
It's not only that. It's not only the fact, Celtic have had some sore ones in Europe in recent years. Dortmund last season, 7-1. Real Madrid gave them a couple of sore ones a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, that's Borussia Dortmund.
That's what I was going to say. Celtic, this is Midtjylland.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what hurts a wee bit more. No disrespect to them. They obviously, at the minute, have got a really good team, but it's Midtjylland.
Yeah, it shouldn't be possible. And it does suggest, and as I said, that's why I make the reference to Hearts, that they're doing something similar right now. And I think Hearts are miles in front of the two of these right now, Celtic and Rangers. And why I mentioned Derek McInnes sitting in his house rubbing his hands tonight, because this just adds to the toxicity that's around both of the Glasgow clubs. You heard it when halfway through the second half, the Celtic fans who've kind of plugged into the whole Martin O'Neill, the kind of romance of the whole thing, they've enjoyed it. They've enjoyed beating Rangers at Hampden, but when it started to go south tonight, they start turning the fire back on the board, and you heard the songs, and it was the same at Ibrox. So these are two clubs that are staggering out of this midweek into another weekend, and Hearts have got the chance, playing before both of them, to post another 3 points. And I strongly suspect they will do that. I genuinely think this pair are now kind of stumbling about like Saturday night drunks, and it's
no, you're right. It's just that I wasn't expecting it, but I can't disagree with you. I think you're spot on.
And they've got nobody but themselves to blame. Bad decision making, bad management, bad appointments, bad signings. They're a mess. And Celtic, how ironic is it that the one little bit of bright spark that they had was Callum Osman coming on off the bench, and then he gets carried off with his hamstring shredded.
And it looks a bad one.
Don't know when we'll see him again. You can tell by the reaction of the player. And the young boy knew that was a bad one. And so, are we going to see him again this year? Probably not. And that leaves Celtic going into this title fight against a Hearts side that's absolutely flying, and the only one recognised striker they've got is Johnny Kenny. I'm afraid Celtic and Rangers are going to get what they deserve this season.
Well, a couple of more comments before we round up for the night, Keith. Mark says, hate to say it, but Hearts winning might be the best thing to happen to Celtic in decades. The board will have to move the club forward. This one here from Philip, he says, even if a new manager was appointed tomorrow, they still wouldn't change how we play at the back or indeed going forward. And finally, Jay says, if Sunday is to be O'Neill's farewell, do we think Celtic will make an announcement? I'd still keep him to the end of the season. He'll do it domestically. Another change could upset things. What's your gut feeling, Keith? Do you think, obviously, this game on Sunday, the last game before the international break, is it the last time we'll see Martin O'Neill in the Celtic dugout?
I don't know, because do you know my feeling on this, Daniel? And it's more of a hunch than anything else, which is born through years of doing this job. I'm not hearing very much about, conversations that should be taking place in terms of Celtic getting close to making an appointment. Usually, journalistically, you start to hear a rumour, you'll hear this. I think there was early doors, I think Paul Tisdale was put in charge of it. It's starting to feel to me as if whatever plans he'd put in place seem to be falling down. I wonder if Dermot Desmond is now taking personal control of the situation, and that might be why there's we're not hearing that much. And if that's the case, who knows? Because Dermot Desmond, I don't think, and I know that Martin O'Neill said he nearly fell off his chair on the day that he got asked to take on the job. And I really like Martin. I'm not sure I believe him on that one. I think this was in the pipeline. So was it in the pipeline because this was something they had in mind, that they were going to run with Martin O'Neill for a while? Martin O'Neill, I think tonight, and you know, the getting thrown into this situation, it will take a toll. He's a 73-year-old guy. Physically, you know, emotionally, this is a big ask. And it's fine if everyone's bubbling along and, you know, he's sprinkling magic dust on it and Celtic are winning games. But that tonight was reality biting for Martin O'Neill and for Celtic. I still think there's an element of sentimentality where I think Celtic supporters would like Martin O'Neill to be in the dugout at Hampden for the cup final, December 14th. But I do think that performance tonight and result means instead of sentimentality, there's probably a need for urgency. And Celtic need to address this and make a decision on, you know, and by the way, the decision could be we're sticking with Martin O'Neill, but come out and say it. Tell the players that you've got this guy at least until the end of the season. I don't know. I just feel both of these clubs have somehow managed to dig themselves into very deep holes right now.